we done dramas, we did, some thrillers and all, and they all done great, and we love doing them. But horror really just seemed to be something that we became fanatics of. Yeah.
So you guys, you're watching all of these movies. You're thinking we got to do a horror movie. Then what is actually that moment where all of a sudden you started to get your own idea about this film, No Fear?
Actually, one day, a good friend of ours, we would say a mentor, knew we were working on this new concept, and we were kind of not stuck in a rut, but we were just trying to find our own way of doing it. And this person is very spiritual in a way, so he gave us a book on or Zoroastrian, and we read it, and we looked and we saw some concepts in it, and I think Jameson could go a little bit more in depth about it. But we just found some like elements and figures that we really gravitated towards, and plus we always wanted to go towards a somewhat of a Lovecraftian kind of element, so it kind of fit into the whole spiritual thing well along with it. But yeah, no, I think James.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that Middle Eastern religion, what was interesting about it was there was one thing we actually opened to, which was lucky. I mean, as screenwriters, even was lucky because we found something interesting, which we opened randomly to a page and just pointed to something, no joke, and said, and it was a really weird concept about how when you die in that religion, basically your loved one stays there or their soul stays there, and it's open to attack from entities for several days. And then after the end of 3 days, they can then drift off into the next plane. And it was like, whoa, okay, well that, even though that sounds like a lot of other horror movies, that kind of got us thinking about the basis of No Fear. And then we were also talking a lot about trying to work with, different perceptions or sensory perceptions, and maybe how, like, if somebody made contact with somebody, if they can understand something or perceive something, how could we do that, perspective of different characters? And, through a conversation, I think he brought up See No Evil, Hear No Evil. And we just said, you know what, that is a great idea. Nobody seems to have done that. And because I don't know, other people would have realized that, but because he knows so much about horror and then taught me so much about horror, we sat there and said, nobody's done that. Let's go. So we had that reference point. And what was great from especially because you're screenplay focused, what was great from a writing perspective was we really took something that I think you would consider high concept, and we really built the thing based around how can we make the best version of that movie. What is an audience demand from that concept? And I think that's a great way for any writer to work. But this movie really lent itself to some great things. Perfect example being, it's not a spoiler to say, the first thing we thought of was, well, obviously we got to separate them if they all have to work together. But that's just a perfect example at some point in the movie. So that's just a perfect example of, how those things develop over the course of time. We're talking about months and months and months. So
thanks for checking out this clip from the Selling Your Screenplay podcast. If you'd like to hear the full interview, just go to sellingyourscreenplay.com/podcasts, or to go directly to the episode, just use the link in the show notes. Thanks for watching.